Hey guys, Rushy here and welcome back to another video. Now, long-term viewers of my channel will know I like to make videos on a wide range of different topics, and that includes gaming videos, and I even have my own playlist on this channel for all my gaming videos. And it's been a while since I last made a gaming related video, so I thought for this month I'd finally make another gaming video. I'm not going to be playing any game on camera or showing any gameplay footage, but instead I'm going to talk about a game franchise, Grand Theft Auto. So to summarise, for those who are not familiar with Grand Theft Auto games, they are fictional, but they're realistic. They're based in fictionalised towns and cities in America, and you play the part as a main character who's a criminal trying to survive and progress through a criminal lifestyle. So you get to drive in these games, steal cars, you get to use weapons, guns, melee weapons, hand-to-hand combat. So it combines a lot of different genres and features of different games, and they have a lot of storyline to these games. Some are better than others. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Grand Theft Auto games. I'm a fan of other series of games as well, but for this video we'll just stick to Grand Theft Auto, and we are going to talk about the main characters in 10 Grand Theft Auto games in this video. So I've played most of these games, not all of them, but I've seen playthroughs of all of these games, so I am familiar with the storylines. And I'm going to go from worst to best and save my favourite, the best, until last. And starting with my least favourite character, and that is Trevor Phillips from Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, this may come as a big shock to many GTA fans because he is quite a popular character. And for those of you who don't know, Grand Theft Auto 5 consists of 3 playable characters, and Trevor is one of those characters. So to describe him, he's quite hard to describe really, but he's a white Canadian male in his early 40s. He has a bit of hair loss, quite a rough looking character. He's a drug user, he has lots of tattoos. He lives quite a wild, crazy lifestyle, and I believe he's bisexual as well. A career criminal. From what I remember, he loves stealing things, robbing banks, selling drugs. But I find him quite a confusing character, and very crazy, maybe a bit too crazy. And he's a bit too old as well, in my opinion, to be a good Grand Theft Auto character. For me, a good GTA character has to be anywhere from mid-20s to perhaps late 30s at the most, and single. Now, not to get spoiled the storyline of Grand Theft Auto 5, but throughout the game he reconnects with another playable character of that game, and he meets the third character of that game for the first time, and their friendship starts and blossoms throughout the game. But he has friends who he employs, but he also domineers these friends and associates of his. But yeah, the reason why I've rated him my least favourite on this list is because I think he's a bit too crazy, a bit too old, a bit too confusing to understand, and just generally a bit too mean, and a bit too evil, so to speak. Not a very nice person. Or I suppose none of these characters in real life would be very nice people. They're all criminals, but I'd say he is the worst of the worst. But I can understand why he's so popular, because I suppose it is fun to play as the villain. Crime is a bad man's game in it, so I suppose the worse you are, I suppose the better criminal you are, and I guess in a way he is the ultimate criminal. He killed another playable Grand Theft Auto character that's on this list, which I think is a big no-no in my opinion. Any character who kills another character, not a big fan of them in my book. And I don't think Rockstar, the company that created Grand Theft Auto, should ever kill one of these protagonists, because if you play these games you get quite attached to them, but especially let another protagonist kill this protagonist. In 10th place I've put Tony Cipriani, which is the main character from Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. So this character is a young man in his early 30s, an Italian-American male, and based in Liberty City, which is the fictional version of New York. Now, this character, not to spoil the main story of that game, but he's sort of an underboss in a mafia crime family. So as a character himself, he's quite clean cut, short hair, clean shaven, maybe a bit of stubble. He's the right age for my favourite GTA character. He's also single, no kids or anything. He does have a mother, I believe, who he doesn't get on with very well. I find him quite a boring character. He isn't his own person in a way. He just mainly follows the orders of the head of the family who he's working for. He is quite a stereotypical mafia man, really. He actually appears in another Grand Theft Auto game as well, Grand Theft Auto 3, which was made before Liberty City Stories. He changes quite a bit from Liberty City Stories to GTA 3. I think Liberty City Stories is set in 1998 and GTA 3 is set in the year I was born, 2001. But from within those 3 years, he puts on a lot of weight and his hair's also gone grey. So, he ages quite quickly, doesn't take care of himself. And I find him a bit of a boring character, really. Not too dislikable, although he is a bad person, but just more boring than anything else. And in 9th place, I've put Michael DeSanta, or Michael Townley, one of the other playable characters from Grand Theft Auto 5. I believe he's in his mid to late 40s. I think he's the oldest GTA character we've had so far. And to describe him, he's a white male, a white American from the Midwest, I think, originally. Clean cut, average height, although he is a bit overweight. He's sort of quite an old school character. He loves watching old films, he dresses quite traditionally. Unlike any other character on this list, he is a married man and he has 2 adult, teenage children. He has a son called Jimmy and a daughter called Tracy. And the reason I gave him 2 last names at the beginning is because originally his name was Michael Townley. However, through the course of the game, he ends up changing his name and creating a new identity for himself. He's a bit too old to be a good GTA character, in my opinion. And, he has a wife and he has children. To me, he's quite a boring character. Past his prime, not too evil. In fact, he's one of those characters who has normal moral compass. He tries to think he's a good guy in a way. He tries to act like a good guy, although he is a bad person. He is a police informant. He ends up informing, grassing, setting up his crime partners in order to get ahead in life and avoid going to prison. And that's something that I don't like. Okay. Now, moving on to number 9, and in 9th place, I've put Franklin Clinton. So, the reason why he's my favourite Grand Theft Auto 5 character is because he's the youngest. I think he's 25 during the events of the game. He's a black African-American character, and GTA 5 is based in Los Santos, which is the GTA version of Los Angeles. He's born and raised in that area, very familiar with his surroundings. He's from quite a poor background and he gets involved in crime in order to fund his lifestyle, become wealthy. And in terms of his personality, he's not an evil character, such not as much as Trevor, although perhaps a bit more bad than Michael in a way. However, he is quite a loyal character, obviously anti-police. Quite sociable as well. He interacts with a lot of people throughout the game, and you really do get to see his evolution throughout the game as he becomes a proper professional criminal. A few years after the game was released, in fact quite a number of years later, they released an online update where you get to meet him several years later. So out of the 3 GTA characters, he is confirmed to still be alive today, because the other 2 characters you can kill at the end of the game, but Franklin will be saved and still alive no matter what. His hair's gone a bit grey. He has this fancy beard because he was clean shaven originally. In the events of GTA 5, he is single. He was in a relationship. He broke up from that relationship and he's single, although in the update he's apparently married the girl who broke up with him, who didn't seem like a nice person really, didn't seem well suited to him, and apparently he has children. Don't like how his life story ended after GTA 5. He just wants to get ahead no matter what. He does help his allies, but not straight away. Not an evil character as such, like others, or not a dislikable character, but again, a little bit of a boring character, not much substance to him. He's my favourite out of all the GTA 5 characters. Still far from my favourite Grand Theft Auto character in total. Okay, now moving on to number 8. And in 8th place, I've put Tommy Vercetti, which is the main character from Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is the fictional version of Miami, Florida. Again, many GTA fans will be confused and disagree with why I've put him quite far down my list, because he's a very popular character. And this character, I think he's in his mid-30s, and the game is set in 1986. Similar to Tony Cipriani heritage-wise, although quite different from Tony. He worked for a different family, and he'd recently been released from quite a long prison sentence. I think he'd done 15 years in prison, and throughout the course of GTA Vice City, gets to set up his own empire and take quite a bit of control over the city. So he's quite a powerful character, a very able character, relatively young, single, no children. Not too dislikable, not the most evil character on this list, although he is a very dangerous character. But the reason I placed him quite low down is because I find him quite cocky, quite arrogant. The type of character who thinks he's a badass, who thinks he can do anything he wants to. And I find that quite annoying in a way. Not boring as such, very fun, very vibrant. He isn't featured in any other game, but I think he's mentioned in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which takes place a few years later, and it seems that he's no longer close to the people who he associated with, his allies in the game, so he's quick to make new friends or not support his friends as such. And yes, that's the main reason why I've placed him as number 8, because he's a powerful character, an interesting character, a fun character to play, but quite cocky and quite arrogant. Moving on to number 7, and in 7th place I've put Han Lee, which is the main character from Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. So this character is a young male, I believe he's Chinese heritage, and he's quite an interesting character. Throughout the course of the game, I think he gets revenge on someone who wronged him, who tried to have him killed, and he builds up his own empire in a way without much help. So he's quite a dangerous character, quite a powerful character. Interesting personality, not too evil or nasty or vicious, and quite cunning, quite intelligent. I think he's quite loyal, quite a respectful character. He has good discipline. He's the right age, single, no children, in the prime of his life. However, I do find him, again, a bit like Tommy, quite an arrogant character, quite a cocky character. Another one who thinks he's perhaps smarter than everyone else. And a bit like Franklin in a way, I think perhaps not too much depth to it. I think it could be more depth made to this character. And of course, I'm not a huge fan of the game, but the character itself, I think he's quite a good character. And now moving on to number 6. And my 6th favourite character is Claude from Grand Theft Auto 3. He's a white male. He's a young male. I think he's about 30, no children. And GTA 3 is based in Liberty City. This character has the least depth out of all GTA characters. We don't know his last name. He doesn't even speak throughout the game. But in this case, although it is quite annoying that he doesn't have much storyline to him, it also makes him more attractive and more fun to play in a way, because it's almost like it's you playing the game. It does make it simpler to understand as well. And again, he's in the prime of his life, very able character, able to do a lot of damage, take care of himself. And throughout the course of the game, he builds a crime empire, doing work for different people. Not too evil or vicious or nasty. However, with this character, I think he's a bit of a fool, a bit gullible, because at the beginning of the game, he has a girlfriend where he gets set up by this girlfriend. And then throughout the course of the game, he tries to stay out of jail, build up his crime empire, make money, but also get revenge on this woman. So yeah, he's quite a naive character, quite foolish. He's a very able character, but yeah, he doesn't have much depth to him at all. Now moving on to number 5, and my 5th favourite GTA character is Luis Lopez from Grand Theft Auto 4, The Ballad of Gay Tony. So Luis is one of 3 characters from the Grand Theft Auto 4 storyline, and he's a young male, one of the youngest characters in this game, the same age as Franklin, 25 I believe, and he's a Dominican American. He's born and raised in Liberty City his whole life. Definitely quite a healthy character in the prime of his life, good at hand-to-hand combat. He's able to do a lot of things. Quite a fashionable character, very trendy for his time. Quite a fun character to play as, not a boring character. In a way similar to Tony from GTA Liberty City Stories, he doesn't really work for himself, he works for his boss, which is also called Tony, but a different Tony, gay Tony Prince. Unlike many GTA characters on this list, he actually has a legitimate job as well, legitimate source of income. He works as a nightclub bouncer, security in nightclubs, and does work for other criminals in order to help his boss and make money in the process. You get to see his mother throughout the game and help do missions for his mother and his friends. But in terms of relationships, he doesn't really have any meaningful relationships with women. But you can get into relationships, but they're basically like free escorts, prostitutes, or booty calls, and they end up dumping him at the end of the game, so he ends up single in the end. Similar to Tommy Vercetti and Han Lee, I find him quite a cocky character, quite an arrogant character. A ladies' man, but he thinks he's God's gift to women. He thinks he's tougher than everyone else. He also thinks he's quite smart as well. Not too nasty or vicious, but he's up there with one of the more bad men in this game. So quite a badass character, but he thinks he's more badass than he actually is. And similar to Claude, he's a bit gullible as well in a way in terms of who he works with. He ends up working for the wrong people, which gets him into trouble. He's a very able character in his prime, and quite a fun character to play as. However, I do find him quite annoying in a way. Not bad, but not my favourite. Okay, moving on to number 4. And in 4th place, I've put Johnny Klebitz from the other episode of Grand Theft Auto 4, which is called The Lost and Damned. Now, this character is part of a motorcycle club called the Lost MC, and he's a senior member. He's one of the older characters on this list. He's in his mid-30s, I think, the oldest of all the GTA 4 characters, and he looks it as well. He has quite a few scars. He has quite an aged look to him. Like he's been around a long time and quite rough looking. He's lived a rough lifestyle and it's catching up to him, even when we play as him in GTA 4, but especially in GTA 5. Quite a brawny character when we play as him. Quite a slow character as well. He walks and he runs with a limp, I think caused from a bike accident. I think out of all the characters, he's one of the most into vehicles, especially motorbikes. He comes from like a mechanical working class background, quite a poor background, old school background. He's a Jewish character, but he's not an Orthodox Jew. I don't think he's a practicing Jew. And in terms of his appearance, he has hair, but he has a shaved head, like a long sort of handlebar droop moustache, and plenty of scars. He also has quite a lot of tattoos. I think he has the most tattoos out of all GTA characters. So I like this character mainly because he has quite a good personality, obviously a bad person. I think he's not as bad in terms of his personality, in terms of the things he does, as many of the GTA characters on this list. He's a loyal character, and he wants to do what's best for him, but also what's best for his motorcycle club. And he's quite a sensible character, even though I think he's used drugs in the past. He's clean when we play as him, and he's more focused on selling drugs rather than using them and making good business decisions. Quite a smart character for a biker. However, the reason he isn't in my top 3 favourite characters is because he's past his prime. He's single, he doesn't have any children. Throughout the course of the game, he helps out his ex-girlfriend. That ends up getting him into trouble towards the end of the game and cuts all ties with her. But we later find out he's back with her again in GTA 5. So he's quite weak for women in a way. Not too old, but he looks older than his age. Quite worn out, not in prime condition. And in a way, quite a boring character as well. Not as boring as some of the other characters. And definitely not the most boring character, but not the most interesting, not the most vibrant character either. However, I don't think he's strong enough in some ways. He doesn't look after himself properly, and he's not strong enough relationship-wise, which unfortunately leads to his death. Now, this is one of 2 GTA characters that is confirmed to have died. And this is the character who gets killed by my least favourite character. So Trevor ends up killing Johnny in GTA 5. And yes, when we catch up with Johnny, the time he gets killed by Trevor, which is 5 years later, he's lost a lot of weight. Suggested that it's caused by drug use, so he starts using drugs again, specifically methamphetamine. And he's looking even older, a few more scars, quite skinny, but very worn out looking. He's still no-nonsense character. He's not the strongest of characters, and you get that sense about him. Despite being a biker, he's not that badass, although unlike other characters, he doesn't claim to be very badass either, which I like. But yeah, he becomes weaker in almost every way in GTA 5, you know. He gets into confrontation with Trevor, and he does stand up to him, but he lets Trevor fool him into thinking he's his friend, and that's when Trevor sneakily attacks him and ends up killing him. So an unfortunate end to that character, but you could say all 12 of these characters deserve to die in a way because they're bad people, but he's definitely not the worst, but again, quite a boring character in a way, quite worn out, and not the strongest of characters either, although I think he has a good personality, and I enjoyed playing as him, and I thought it was a shame when Rockstar killed him off. Now we are in the top 3 list of my favourite characters, and moving on to number 3, in third place I put Victor Vance, which is the main character for Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. And this character is a young man, I think in his late 20s, I think he's about 28. He's a Dominican man, he's the same heritage as Luis Fernando Lopez. Doesn't have any children, although he does find a relationship in the game. And I think he's quite a skilled character. He starts off in the army, he ends up getting fired from the army and ends up turning to crime to help get himself and help his family, who's very family orientated. He looks after one of his brothers, and he has 2 brothers, one who has an illness, so he makes money to try and help him, and the other brother who is younger, a bit more foolish, a bit more naive, who he helps take under his wing in a way, and they create a criminal empire together. And I'd say out of all the characters on this list, he has the best moral compass. He's the best person in terms of his personality. He tries to avoid crime as much as possible. You know, he does end up becoming a criminal. He helps others, he helps his family. But the reason he isn't my favourite is because he isn't as able and as capable as other characters on this list. He can be quite boring in a way, you know, he's quite dynamic, although he's not as dynamic as some other characters on this list. And he's quite confused as well, you know, he's trying to be the good guy in a bad man's game. He's quite serious, not really able to have fun as much as some other characters. Don't get me wrong, he can still take care of himself, and he's good to play as well. I found him quite fun to play as, and enjoyable to play as, and quite a sympathetic character as well. However, like Johnny, who I listed below him, he is the other character who ends up unfortunately dying, apparently. It's not set in stone like Johnny's death, but in the events of GTA Vice City, which was made before the Vice City Stories but takes place 2 years later, apparently in the opening cutscene he gets killed and his brother Vance goes to avenge his death. But we're not sure if it's Vic or his other brother, who's called Pete, who was ill, because this character in GTA Vice City, he looks a lot older, a lot weaker as well. So he might still be alive, but again, although he's in the prime of his life, he's not as capable as some other GTA characters. He's not a good person, but I'd say he has the best personality, the kindest personality out of all the characters on this list. Okay, moving on to number 2, and my second favourite GTA character is CJ, Carl Johnson, from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, this is a young character, again, one of the youngest in the game. I think he's in his mid-20s. He's an African-American character, the same heritage as Franklin. He lives in the same area as Franklin as well, so from the same part of town, born and raised in that area. He's a gang member. His mother ends up passing away before the events of the game, and he goes on to avenge her death throughout the game, so very family orientated and friend orientated as well. He has lots of friends. And yes, he's a very capable, very able character. In fact, one of the most able GTA characters on this list. He starts off being a gang member, but he ends up becoming the ultimate criminal, getting involved in all different types of crime. Quite an intelligent character, quite an adaptive character as well, can adapt to different situations. Quite clean cut in a way. He has some facial hair, but a short, neat hairstyle, although you can change his hairstyle throughout the game. He doesn't have any children. He doesn't have a set relationship, although I think he can get involved in relationships with women throughout the game, but they're not really set in stone. It's very dynamic, quite fun, but very impressive in terms of what he's able to achieve, what he's capable of. Not a terrible person, although far from being the best personality, the kindest GTA character. He can be quite savage in his ways. Definitely a character who can take care of himself, a badass. And he's not too cocky either. although he's not the most humble of GTA characters, I don't think. But again, I do think he is a bit naive in a way, a bit of a fool in terms of how he gets led by people, or he does tend to wise up a bit throughout the game. And quite a sympathetic character as well, though not the most sympathetic on this list. And finally, last but certainly not least, moving on to the top spot, number 1, and my favourite GTA character is Nico Bellic, which is the main character from the main Grand Theft Auto 4 storyline. And this character is a young man in the prime of his life. He's 30, no children. He's an Eastern European male from Serbia, who's a fresh immigrant, fresh from Serbia, moved to Liberty City. You actually see him arrive in the city at the beginning of the game, so an illegal immigrant who's trying to adjust to American life. And the reason why he's my favourite character, well, there's multiple reasons. Firstly, he's a very capable character, very able character. He can definitely look after himself and do a lot of damage. You know, he's loyal to his family, his cousin who he lives with, his friends as well. And I think he's one of the most sympathetic characters on this list in terms of why he got into crime. I think he grew up and his country became at war. And yeah, he was forced to become a child soldier, I believe, and do things he didn't want to do in order to survive. And the war really affected him and turned him into quite a cold person and quite a dangerous person, really. And that's when he became involved in crime afterwards. And, you know, I'm really impressed, similar with CJ, and how much this character is able to achieve from being a fresh immigrant to the city with very little money to wiping out criminal organisations, earning a lot of money, working with various different criminals. Not the most fun character to play as. He's quite a serious character. He's also quite a cold character in a way. You know, he's quite fixated on revenge, you know, doesn't care who he hurts in the way. But again, he's not beyond repair. He's not the most evil character on this list. He does have some good points. He does try to look out for people. He does have a sense of right and wrong. And he doesn't judge other characters either. He doesn't claim to be a saint. You know, he's very honest about himself. Very honest character. So guys, that concludes this list and this video of my favourite Grand Theft Auto characters. I spent quite a lot of time playing Grand Theft Auto when I was younger, perhaps too young to play the game, and I perhaps spent a bit too much time playing these games. But I do like the storylines of these games. Not perfect, but they are quite good. I've been wanting to make this video for a while because I made this list quite a long time ago. I'm always interested to hear other people's favourite Grand Theft Auto characters and least favourite as well. So feel free to let me know in the comment section your favourite Grand Theft Auto characters. And the Grand Theft Auto games I didn't include in this video, main characters were of Grand Theft Auto 1, GTA 2, and also Grand Theft Auto Advance. And the Grand Theft Auto 5 online character, which you get to customise. I didn't include that one because it's so varied. I have finally reached 200 subscribers, and I'm really pleased. Not a massive milestone to others, very insignificant to some, but it's something I've been wanting to achieve for a while now. I'm happy with the size my channel is, you know, quite a small channel, but quite a good channel community. And it's nice to see it growing slightly, and my videos getting more views as well over the last couple of years. Now I'm becoming more frequent with my uploading once every month, although not always on time, unfortunately. And uploading or trying to upload higher quality videos as well and put out my best work. So yes, thanks to all 200 of my subscribers, whether you've just joined or whether you've been long-term subscribers. I really appreciate your support. Thanks to everyone who likes my videos as well. I really appreciate seeing all the likes. And in terms of the feedback I get in the comments as well, I'm really pleased with that. In the old days of my channel, I would have made a video dedicated to me achieving 200 subscribers, but instead I made a community post where I wrote a post about that, so feel free to check out that post. This has been my gaming video for the year, and next month I'll upload my next video, which will be a completely different topic. So feel free to check out the description, and that will list all the information I forgot to include in this video. So with all that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again next month in my next video. Goodbye.